There's never happened in history. In fact, every school, every public school this team has done, every single one, we've given money back to our clients at the end of the job. Every single one. Thank you, Phil. And I've never seen a change order that I like. The way we get through, the way we can so confidently say we never have to do that, and the way we mitigate these is by working with Dan and his team, building those plans early in construction, making the plan happen on paper, and then really strong execution once we get to the field. And I want to switch and I want to talk about the plan now and how we're actually going to work through this job. This feels like kind of a sharp change in topic, but it's really not. The plan and the budget, they're blended together. They go hand in hand. So I think our next slide, thank you, is Lauren.
So you guys should be familiar with this. This is the MSBA timeline and all of the milestones that you need to hit for the project. We are also very familiar with it and are comfortable with this schedule. There's a lot that needs to happen during these periods of time. And I will be leading this with the team you see here today. And Dan talked about how we work at our budget, but I want to talk about two things here: opportunities and risk, and constructability and coordination. It's super important to get these details right in design development so we can bake these into the drawings and have them biddable for the contractors. For example, in Wellesley Hardy School, there was a detail that we found where the slab on grade poured over the foundation walls. And what this meant, if we kept this, we would have to get all the underground utilities within the footprint of the building installed in the concrete poured before we could start any of the exterior framing and envelope. We were right up against it at schedule, and it would hold these walls out, into the winter. So we worked with the architect and the structural engineer and found a detail where now the slab on grade is going to pour into the side. So we could, as soon as the foundations were poured and ready, we could start with the exterior envelope, get the building weather tight, do the concrete and utilities inside a building envelope that was secure, which saved like 5 to 6 weeks on schedule, and then helped reduce cost in winter conditions. And these are very important. And we're ready to take these type of things in details and dive in deep so we can have a good start to the project.
And as we think about those constructability things we'll work through, we're also going to think about timing of the project and when does it make sense to build. If you look here, this is kind of these bars up here. That's when the RFP has a construction schedule starting. And the key thing I want to point out here is, generally speaking, on an MSBA public school, you can safely start construction about 4 months after your construction documents are finished. And when I say safely, I mean, we're not driving costs into the project fairly. We're not asking you and your team to jump through hoops and change your design path. Everything stays the same, just construction starts earlier. And there's a couple of really strong benefits to that if you were to pursue that path. Number one is we can move the students in about 9 months earlier. Number two, there'll be about $1.2 million saved just in escalation costs alone. That's money you can reinvest back into the building. Dan and I, we talk almost weekly about the subcontractor market. Subcontractors are so hungry right now. Their prices are coming in extremely aggressive, and they're looking to build work right here. So this could be a good opportunity if it makes sense for the community. I want John to talk about, once we get on site, what does it look like? How do we work through once we're actually on site?
I'm going to talk through a little bit of the overall schedule, but first I wanted to stress that what Josiah and Lauren have been talking about with the pre-con efforts, that really sets up the on-site construction for success. I'm very confident with the overall timeline of meeting the overall timeline of the schedule. With a November start, allows us to erect structural steel and complete slabs into June the following year. Following up with envelope through the fall months and having the overall construction weather tight in October. That allows us to build the rest of the interiors through the rest of the winter and spring months, and overall leading to a June turnover, which is an optimal time to do a building transfer from new to old, and then leading us onto the final stages of the landscape, the ball field and bleach fields. No matter how much planning we do, issues will arise. We feel we are expert problem solvers. I'd like to bring up a specific example of a problem that myself and Phil overcame down in Harvard. We are aware of boulders on the site by studying geotechnical reports that were issued. But what we are not prepared for was a man-made burial ground of boulders from prior projects in town. Instead of this becoming a work stoppage problem, we work closely with our subcontractors and the design team to build a strategy. While we were working on that, we continue to work all of those areas of the site while this was being solved. We worked through a game plan that satisfied what we needed to do to complete our foundations. In the end, the foundations were completed, structural steel started on time, and there was no change to the end date of the schedule.
And why do I think things like this are important? There can be no excuses for a schedule delay. And driving the schedule to take too long, potentially putting kids in modular classrooms. I live in a town just like yours. I serve on a board just like yours. And I know exactly what those 400 emails you would get from all those parents of all those upset people. There can be no excuses. And what I want you to take away from Shamit is no matter what happens, we're going to get you what we want. That's our commitment to you. I also asked John to talk about site logistics. These are really complicated. There's a lot in here. I asked him to high level it, go super brief. If you have questions, just ask.
So these couple of logistics plans will be honed throughout pre-construction, but I wanted to focus on a few items that are recurring in all stages of the logistics. First off, creating a site perimeter that's well defined. That includes our site fence, our entrances, and contractor parking within the site. Secondarily, that is reinforced with communication. All of these plans, we like to review with the stakeholders. That might be people within the school, the building department, police and fire, any parties that want to be involved with the planning to make sure that everybody is comfortable with what's happening inside the site and outside the site. Next off is establishing construction blackout times. You have AM and PM bus drop off and parent drop off for students. That can't be interrupted. We have successfully done this on multiple projects where we enforce blackout times for no deliveries. Our trucking can't stop what's happening on your day-to-day school campus. That is reinforced also with communication. Successfully on multiple projects, I've had daily communication, informal meetings with the principal. It gives us a chance to chit chat, talk about what's happening throughout the day, remind him of what is going on, him or her, or what's going on the site. But at the same time, I can be informed of things that I need to be paying attention to that might be happening in the school, the active school. Next, as the job progresses, we're recreating the same similarities of a well-defined site, new entrances, but now paying attention to the new school that is active, the new bus routes, and adhering to the same game plan that was already established for the past year and a half. And then further, all of these details are put into the bid documents and captured in the budget.
And I don't go away after pre-construction. I work closely with Phil and Elizabeth and John for quality control measures as the building progresses through construction. On this screen, there are a few ways that we have work through quality control in specific tailored program for your project. As an example, in the middle is a shop drawing that was created through our weekly coordination meetings with our foreman. This is the envelope of the building, which is very important. These coordination meetings define details, they set expectations, and they make it so everybody understands what materials are going in place, who's going when, and how does it work. Your building needs to be a high-performing envelope to pass the rigorous testing that is now required. So This is just one example of a quality control program that we'll put in place. And I'll work real close with Elizabeth to make sure that we get these goals passed. But we don't just stop on the outside, we also start with the end in mind. So for us, we understand that not everybody knows how to read drawings. So we build one classroom first, right out of the gate. Once the exterior envelope goes up, we start framing one classroom. Before we build it 30 times over, we bring the teachers, the principal, the superintendent into that room so they have an understanding of how their space works. What's important here is we've done it in the past and there's like a dozen changes. And if those changes happen after the end user moves in, it's costing you money. It's disrupting the classrooms that, you know, your students are trying to learn in. So we get this done early. We ensure that everybody has a clear, defined understanding of what they're going to have as you move into the school.
So I often get asked, what do you do? Project management. Usually it's by my kids and I tell them I build schools. Understanding my audience this evening, I want to be a little bit more thorough. So it really boils down into 5 buckets. Those 5 buckets are up here. I'm not going to go through them all. I'm going to go through an example that I think really highlights the value that, you know, being a project manager can bring to the team. So this is Harvard, Hildreth Elementary School. If you've driven by that building, beautiful peaked roof. It's a magnificent piece of architecture. Geometrically, getting all the air handling equipment into that room, into that space was a challenge. So we worked with the design team, our coordinators, to ensure that all that equipment could be fit into that space, maintainable. And then we took it one step further. We looked at in 30 to 40 years as this project, as this equipment approaches the end of its useful life. How are you going to get it out to maintain it in the future? And we took it upon ourselves to model moving that equipment out of the building and making sure that we had enough space cleared and access points so that you don't need to rip the side of the building off, get that equipment out.
6 or 7 minutes.
So it was a very resilient process, and I'm going to turn it over to Elizabeth to touch more on sustainability.
So sustainability is such a broad term, and it touches all of these aspects, which are, you know, relevant to my job and I think very important. But I also think it's important to tie these concepts to tangible outcomes. So for Shaker Lane, I see that first as being a highly efficient building that's going to save you money. I also want it to be a durable building that's going to be resilient and last to serve your community for decades. And of course, we want an optimal learning environment for your students and faculty. I think that the foundation you all have is really strong, but you need a committed partner who understands that vision and will bring it to reality without compromise. I think I saw in your SU report that you're not necessarily interested in chasing lead points, which I love, as great as lead is, but a lot of the lead credits that directly impact these outcomes are awarded on design and don't require professional verification. So some of the things like Lauren, driving accountability with the subs and driving quality. Oh, it's happening.
It's all right, we got one left.
Or still working through tech spaces and making sure your staff can access and maintain equipment. All of this really builds to a longer lifespan of the equipment and the building and drives quality with your performance as well. And really that's how we'll show for you and sure we
So Elizabeth talked about an optimal learning environment, but why are we waiting for the classroom to be built when we are providing an optimal learning requirement? This is something that I'm passionate about and one of the most rewarding parts, I think, of all of our jobs in building a school. Whether it's standing in front of all school assembly, teaching about construction, or Phil in John's window of wonder, right? I wanted to call it the portal of promise. So I think that's a good name for it. Or doing an egg drop with the students, the 5th grade students, they were so excited. They kept saying, go higher, go higher. So we really love bringing the community in to see what we do and be a part of like the future of their community. And that's what we want to do here as well.
My job is to bring to you a great team, not just of great builders, but of great people. And I hope in this time, you do really get to see what I see is that these are really great people, and I'm confident you would enjoy working with them. I love Shawmut's emerging talent. If you'll notice, no one in here is in our 20s, whether it's my lack of hair or John's like really outdated Polaroid. We aren't learning on the job here. We've all been doing this a long time. This is not our third or fourth project. It's our 30th or 40th project. And as I said before, the way I measure success will be standing back here in front of you in 10 years, talking about another project because you had such a great experience. I guess we're all getting touches today.
This is DFI now, okay?
So, that's it for our presentation. Open it up to Q&A. We got a bunch of topics here covered. Anyone's curious about these. I'm sure logistics, you're seeing a lot of videos, 3D, there's all types of stuff you can look at there. Logistics can get really complicated. So happy to talk through any of that in detail.
Okay, excuse me. Yeah, great. Thank you. Sorry, Joshua and everybody. Appreciate the presentation. Many members have a series of questions they're going to randomly ask on and off, and probably address many of the things you have on your screen, but also maybe address the questions you may have offered during the presentation. So certainly as well. So I'll turn it over to the chair and he can delegate accordingly. I might have one or two at the end as well. So
All right.
see what happens.
Mike, do you want to start?
Sure.
You guys, thanks for coming. I want to go through your early package schedule.
Absolutely.
In terms of procurement of subs and make sure you get the right folks.
Sure. So probably a little tough to see on the screen. This is our alternate schedule. What we looked at really the main deviation from the RFP schedule and the alternate schedule is really these early packages coming out with a 60% CD set. A lot of these packages are really developed by that time. Your structure, your civil, they're kind of already along. The outlier would really be the below grade waterproofing and maybe the electrical switchgear. Those might have to be, pull those kind of into that package. With those, that would let us start construction about 4 months after the 60% CDs and just hit all the other design milestones as they're developed. Does that answer your question, Mike?
Yeah. Yeah, sure.
Okay. You sure?
Yeah.
You mentioned about your subcontractors. Question would be, what about self-performance? Do you do any self-performance?
Great question, Suresh. Dan, you want to take this one? You want
Yeah. So we do self-perform. Sherman has a self-perform arm Starlight. But as part of any procurement, they would be required to bid on the packages. Again, completely transparent process. We would share the bids. Oftentimes, clients will request that Starlight bids 24 hours in advance. So again, we are doing bigger and bigger drywall packages. Obviously, something like that would be a trade bid. So again, we're completely in compliance with any of the procurement laws with the 149 of the class.
If I could just add one thing. So on the 3 school projects that I've done, we've had Starlight involved in all those projects. And we've gotten together with the OPM and the town to really hash out what that procedure would be to make sure that we know what needs to be done and that Starlight knows what they need to do in order to bid the project, but for it to be fully transparent and compliant.
I think the other point is we've had a lot of success with Starlight partnering with MBE and WBE firms, and that's helped achieve some of the diversity goals on our projects.
Yeah.
So I know in Ashland that it was very successful.
Yeah.
And Wellesley.
But a lot of our public projects, that's an avenue that's proven really successful.
And what kind of trade work? Just the drywall work, or do you do concrete and any other work?
So our self-perform arm probably wouldn't take on a concrete package this big, but a lot of the general labor, the cleanup labor, the rough carpentry, it could be millwork.
Doors and hardware.
Doors and hardware installation, yeah, so again, it's specific to the project and frankly, how busy they are. As to what makes sense, but to Phil's point, that can all be fleshed out beforehand and communicated and really develop that strategy as a team.
One of the big value drivers we see there is by controlling some pieces of the job, we get to kind of set the tone, so to speak. So by controlling how clean the job is, really sends a message to everybody of there's an expectation here that you're also clean and you're also doing a good job. So by kind of setting that as a baseline, it really helps us work with and develop partnerships with everybody else in the project.
Right, could you talk a little bit more about your strategy for communicating with abutters?
Great question. I can take that one unless anyone else wants to. Good, I got it. So we find abutters are can be a sensitive group. So what we've done before, we call this together at the table, where we'll meet with them on a monthly cadence to just hear them out. And just let them voice their concerns to us. I'm concerned about traffic or dust or noise. And that fills us in on what they're worried about and how we can, better manage them. I'd say that's as close as we get to working directly with the abutters. There's other stuff like, flyers we can hand out, like FYI, we're driving a crane in, you might see a big piece of equipment spinning up or supporting the project website you already have. Community events, et cetera, et cetera. But the really impactful one is that together at the table where they get to sit with us and tell us we didn't like this, or we're really concerned about that, and we can address it kind of right there on the spot.
And I think it's really important to keep them informed so that there are no surprises. Especially for your project where you have the butters are so close to the entrances and you have some ledge removal that needs to be done there. So really making sure that we communicate the right amount so that there are no surprises.
Good question.
Can you speak a little bit about will the access for parents stay the same throughout the project? There'll be no deviations. That kind of goes to the communication piece.
I don't know who has helped you come up with all these questions. They're all very good.
Yeah,
Sorry, I only heard part of that.
Sorry, just will the access point for parents stay the same throughout the project, right?
Yes, yeah, so in the new construction phase, we're replicating exactly what you have set up now. By keeping our main entrance as far away from that area as possible was the goal. Now, this does put us into the other neighborhood, but there's a balance of trying to maintain this thoroughfare as it is now. When you get into the later phases, obviously the new designed bus route takes over, but it's still trying to not disrupt the new plan design by having us as far away as possible from the new route.
Great.
It's kind of nice putting the entrance over here because it doesn't disrupt any of the, logistics of getting to the school. The downside is kind of just working close to this neighborhood. So we would, try and do some things like put up decorative screen walls between their property and our job site. So they're not looking at a construction fence for, that amount of time. Things we can work through.
And even summertime activities. We know there's a lot of school events that still happen on school. Yes, we'd be trying to focus some of the extremities that need to happen when the school is not in session. But we'll develop plans that work with everybody so you could still keep the summertime activities going while construction happens.
And then just from a safety point of view, obviously it's a school, right? And so you lock up at night. What's kind of the protocol for that? Making sure people don't get into the work site and so on.
John, you want to take that?
Yep, sure. So multiple levels, multiple people on site at the end of the day, making sure this happens. By limiting how many gates we have to the site, by maintaining on a daily and weekly basis the way the fence is set up. Even during the evolution, our goal is always to have driven fence posts whenever possible, and minimize how much temporary fencing goes up or sectional fencing goes up, because it's much tighter, using scrim wherever possible. So there's a tighter barrier around the site. So those are all our goals. So end of the day, best case scenario is, the gate on this side is basically never open because it's a secondary gate that's only needed for certain operations. We really only have one active gate that's being locked at the end of the day. And it's usually me or Phil that's the last person leaving. So it's kind of a thing that the last person out is locking that last gate. Additionally, we typically have some sort of Knox box style lock. So emergency services can get in after hours without having to cut through. That's worked very well in the past because your police, fire, and ambulance all have access to those keys. So we usually set that up so they know what entrance to come to if there's an off hours issue that they need to address.
And I think it's important to note, so all of us have built on co-occupied sites. Hildreth Elementary School was directly adjacent. We were 17 feet away from the existing school. At Mendez and Ashland, we were 20 feet away from the existing school. We were blasting within that 20 feet. So site security is top priority for us. That perimeter fence, getting that set up early and having it up for the duration of the project and maintained is critically important. You and I have never had an off hours issue on any of our sites. So, I think we have the.
There was the deer that jumped the fence.
There was the deer and the coyote, but.
I have coyote.
So yes, there's a lot of planning that is going to this and, safety is the top priority.
One thing kind of not said here too is, you mentioned emergency services, police and fire. What John and Phil will do is during the day, during construction, they'll invite them in and say, come walk the job with us. I know you want to know what this building is not just going to look like when we're out of here, but what it looks like today in case there is an event. So you are familiar with where is the fence, where are the emergency access roads. And we'll do passive systems like security systems, cameras that, alert us to, motion detected at the main entrance kind of stuff.
Good. How do you implement or enforce query process for your contractors and visitors? And the other part of the question is, on a daily basis, do you have an onboarding process that's in place for contractors?
Lauren,
We're just talking about this. Go ahead.
You want to take the query first and I'll take the onboarding?
Go ahead with the query. Because you just explained.
So we were actually talking earlier how, the query process varies from town to town. And ultimately the town query officer helps establish those criteria for who can and can't be on site. What we did in Ashland was we worked with the town to get all those forms filled out. We had a share file where we would submit them to the town securely. They would run them. And I'm not 100% certain here if you all were going to be running the queries or if it was something that you were expecting the contractor to do as the query officer. If the query officer is a town person, we would communicate with them. If for some reason somebody did not pass a query, it would be a discreet phone call to myself. They would be placed on a list. We would inform their company that they are not allowed to work on site. And, I've spent a decade doing this. Have never had any issue with anybody coming on site that wasn't supposed to be on site or really throwing a fit about not being permitted on site. This is standard practice for a public project. So most of the workers that are coming through the door understand that process. And we also do, as far as identification goes, we make sure that the query gets ran. We tie them back to a query badge number. We issue them that badge number, and that badge number is theirs for the duration of the project. And if the town so chooses that, it's generally 6 months to a year that query is good for, we could rebadge everybody if the town wants after a year. So a lot of options. Look forward to discussing them all with you. Very familiar with the process.
And then that does work in tandem with the orientation that happens for every new employee that's coming on. It's in a combination of general safety regulations that they need to follow, but then site-specific items that they need to learn about and understand in order to work on a site. So it's a combination of the query and the safety orientation that all happens day one that each contractor comes on. And that keeps getting supplemented as obviously crews change as the job moves along, so it's just a constant rotation of people coming in. There might be an orientation held every day, busy parts of the jobs.
And our expectation for your project is the contractor is going to be parking within the confines of the site fence. So we will not be intermingling people coming to work with your staff, your students. And that really helps us really control that access.
And it's in the specifications a lot of time is the quarry procedure and the quarry documentation is in the specifications that they're bidding on, as well as our safety manual is written in those head packages. Our safety is an online program called Hammertech. So they have to watch a video, an AGC care video, which is the Association of General Contractors, and then also as Jonathan said, site specific. And then once they pass that, it goes to Jonathan's computer. He has to accept it. And before he can accept it, he has to put in a number. And that number that he puts in is that quarry number tied back to that person with a picture. So somebody else can't just hand their badge around. It has that person's picture right in the system.
Photo.
Yeah, it's a photo.
And that also allows us to collect all their documentation of any of their required trainings, whether if they're working on a boom lift that shows their license, if they're working with power actuated tools, it shows us they've got accreditations for that.
And when yeah, and it will alert us through the program when their credentials expire, so they can never have that lapse and be on site.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Okay. Can you talk about the geothermal system and how we can make sure that they're really in the right place and that we have the best design for them?
I can hear you chopping in the bit.
So at the Mendez Elementary School, we started at DD with 50 wells. And we worked with a third-party consultant and really challenged the design team to make sure that we were right-sizing the system for the space. So through that process, it was iterative. We narrowed that down to 30 wells. So we had 30 wells at Mendez. It's a 100,000 square foot building. We did have a backup boiler and a backup cooling tower. The cooling tower's never been turned on. And the boiler rarely operates.
Not because it doesn't work, it's because the geothermal is working so efficiently.
So really making sure that, as the design's evolving, we're making sure that the tonnage is tying with the building requirements are. And then as far as the location goes, so we can work with our trade partners to assess and make recommendations of where they feel the best opportunity to place it is. Site work is a huge part of any budget, and where they need to start installing that geothermal well from goes into that. So understanding where do we have the most cut, where do we expect to be down to the natural soil, and maximizing the location with where we already need to dig is critical. The system at Mendez, I'm a huge proponent. I call it the magic box because the water goes in and it does amazing things. We installed that system early in the project in the parking lot, and then we put it to bed for the duration of the job until the end, and then we tied everything back. So there's a lot of opportunities for creativity in how you put the system together. And
it doesn't need to all be done at once.
Yeah, and the way it goes in is there's so much testing that has to happen that you can test in segments and really make sure that you're going to be prepared for that tie-in at the end.
We've been doing the first geothermal wells we did were when I started at Shawmut 21 years ago, and they were in the Trinity Church in downtown Boston, 1,500 feet down. And so much of that, like answering that question, is not only the where, but the how many, is that that BTU calculation on the first test well. And that's done, way before the rest of the wells. So we could really fine tune where and how much.
Thank you.
So when the point that you mentioned, the unknowns, therefore, any other pinch point that you see in the project that could be potentially an issue?
The leach field. we talked about.
Yeah, the leach field's unique, but it's not really a challenge, just making sure you get that elevation right. Cause right now it's on the drawings, it's pretty significant fill for that leach field. And trying to find the balance between your water table, the amount of fill, the bedrock, and how much, you need for the actual percolation. I think I really love dirt. It's something that I really nerd out about, and being involved in that process, working with Dan's team to do cut fill analysis and really maximizing where we're gonna, because not only do we need to address the material on site, but if it's going to stay, we need to find a place to put it. There's a lot that goes into figuring out what's the right sauce for your project and your site.
And you might not have noticed it in one of the example logistics plans, but it has been thought about as the actual leach field being done as one of the last things we do. But the summer before, we've already looked at how to get as much work done ahead of that.
This one?
So close, so close.
It was the series of them at the end.
Yeah.
Okay.
Went too far.
Yeah, we've already started thinking about how to get as much work done in between the new school and its the future location of the leach fields down here by using that summer to get the piping as much done as possible, tying in through the existing the existing leach field, but getting as much of the actual pipe work done. So when this roadway opens permanently, we're not digging back into the road. We're only working within the site to get to the new leach field.
Not to
So-
keep,
What's that?
sorry, I was gonna say not to keep piling on. I think, or my feeling is that existing sewer lift station, there's gonna be a lot of conversation around what happens to it, because it stays, but at some point it's going to run both buildings, not full loads in each. Grades need to change around it. Are the pumps oversized, undersized? There's that weird smell that we need to figure out how to address. There's a lot of kind of question marks, and I don't know specifically about Littleton, but we had a similar situation at Harvard, but it was a town-owned, wasn't the school-owned, it was a town-owned utility lift station. And working with their vendor and really trying to figure out how we can adapt our project to work with theirs. So I think digging into that detail early with whomever operates that lift station. I know you're already probably have your civil engineer all over it. But asking some of those questions, because ultimately, how do we tie from old to new and keep everything online and everything flowing?
In pre-con.
In
So, yeah,
pre-con.
we can get it in the budget.
Yes.
Is the most important.
That is the most important part,
Yeah.
is to make sure that it is in the budget.
Any other questions? How you doing? Doing fine. Okay. Couple of quick ones. Is this the project team that, if selected, we see these faces and names throughout the life of the draft?
I'll answer that a little bit differently. A lot of people say this is the project team, and that means different things to different teams.
Sure.
For us, it means it's the people in this room. Like, these are the people that will be on your job from the very beginning, like Lauren said, to the very end.
Okay, good to know. Maybe a quick one for Elizabeth. You mentioned IRA funding. Could you maybe give us a little hint on that?
So right now, the way I see your system, if I'm correct, your wells aren't necessarily over the 1 megawatt threshold that would trigger the domestic content prevailing wage requirements. But I think your equipment on the building side is, I think it's around 300 tons. And that I think would be like the biggest thing that I want to kind of dive into first, because that will then, without your system's under 284 tons, you don't have to do prevailing wage and you don't have to do the domestic content bonus. Your starting credit is 30%. If you go over that 284 ton limit, then your starting credit is only 5%. You need to hit prevailing wage and apprenticeship requirements to get that 30% credit. And then the domestic content bonus is a bonus still, you get another 10%, but it's a hard requirement because of your system size. The last thing I'll say is that the federal entity of concerns provisions from the one big beautiful bill are effective basically at this point, we were supposed to see guidance from the administration in August, which we don't have, but come January 1st, they are effective. And so it might be a reason to pursue the domestic content bonus regardless. The thresholds are roughly the same. They're just specific countries that they're looking at.
And Elizabeth and Phil are being modest here, right, about Mendez?
Yeah.
So at Mendez, the IRA actually came out after we were already under construction. So we worked with Elizabeth and the town to bring in a tax consultant, and we actually retroactively applied for the IRA, and we got the town a check for, I forget what it was, $2.5 million that nobody was anticipating at the outset of that project. So kudos to Elizabeth for helping us navigate the process and kind of raising her hand and saying there's an opportunity here. As you can tell, she's really dialed into the specifics of what's happening. She nerds out about that.
Maybe one more. I'll make it quick. Could you expand again back on your schedule? Did I write this down? You're looking to save 9 months potentially?
So
Schedule?
the schedule would not compress 9 months, it would move back 9 months. So there's an, I guess we're presenting it as an opportunity. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we can do whatever schedule you want.
That's fine. I'm just curious how you're thinking. So
Yep.
can you just touch on that? There you go.
Yep.
That one.
So could you go back, one or two more actually, Phil? Yeah, so your current RFP schedule has you starting in the fall of 2027.
Correct.
If you advance, one or two more, Phil?
Oops, sorry, Lauren.
Perfect. We can pull the actual start of construction back to start 4 months after your construction documents are finished.
60% CDs.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I don't know what I said, but yeah.
I see the bar chart that says
Yep.
on about 60%, starting with early bid packages, so that the
A couple of really big
consideration.
packages, yep, based on 60% CDs.
Did I write this down? Completion would then be
Yes.
one more. So the completion date would be moved instead of 2029, it'd be 2028.
That's right.
Of the schools.
Of the school.
But yeah, that's the new building.
The new building, correct, yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
So you'd be moving into the new building over the summer of 2028.
So instead of the new building being open in the academic year 2029, which would be called September 1. It'd be September 1, 2020.
That's right.
So essentially a year earlier than what we're forecasting.
An academic, yep.
Academic. Okay.
And you know, what I didn't say about this, that there's a little trick to this. So this works except for mechanical contractors. We really need those mechanical contractors on board to coordinate the building so we can put the steel up. And they won't be bought out in time. So what we actually do is we do all of it in-house. So we will coordinate the entire job. We will give the mechanical contractors a fully coordinated set so that they don't have to. And we say, here, go make this. And that's how we're able to pull that time back before those mechanical, electrical, plumbing subs are on.
And that's your bin modeling and all that stuff you're talking about.
Yeah, we do all of that in-house. We have a whole team, not here.
Got it.
Although we do take part.
We do, yeah.
Just one quick follow-up, so you end up buying the equipment under your procurement first, and then transfer over to the AC contractor or electrical.
If that's a requirement, it certainly would be on the electrical gear. We would have to buy that early and then transfer ownership to the electrician.
We did that in Wellesley.
Yep. Kind of doing that pretty much every project these days.
Yeah.
So Scott Santry, who's our electrical estimator, is also a master electrician. So he, talk about nerding out. He loves looking at switch gear and, read through the specs and then designing temporary systems or whatever we need electrically on a project. So, again, huge asset. And, Charlie McLean is his counterpart on the mechanical side. And if we need to, for some reason, pre-purchase any mechanical equipment, the heat pumps or the air handlers, Charlie's will work with the team and with our purchasing group to procure that material when we need to.
Sorry, what if we make an internal decision that we don't want you to accelerate the
Yeah. Totally fine.
So we're still within budget, maybe hopefully save stuff, the whole nine yards.
Absolutely.
Do
Yep.
you still think you'll save still at that level? That if we stay with the original schedule?
I think there'll be still opportunities to save. One thing we're gonna look at really closely for sure is the soils. We need to characterize them environmentally, characterize them geotechnically, and figure out how to handle them most cost effectively. And there's a great amount of time in either pre-construction scenario, whether we start early or we start per the RFP to do all that.
And I think all three budgets have that escalation to the construction start, to the anticipated construction start built in. So that's the buffer that's accounting for that time right now. We're in a period of kind of low escalation right now, and certainly it's as Josiah said, it's a slow construction market. People are looking for work. We expect that to pick up. We don't expect it to take off right now. But we think, again, the three estimates have reasonable escalation allowances to bring your project in the budget. I think, again, Josiah talks about, an opportunity. If we were able to bring this to market, again, very aggressive pricing out there right now. But if that doesn't work for the town, then certainly we think you're still well within budget.
Okay, well, good. Thank you. And Jamie, how about 2 minutes closing remarks if you want? If you so choose, then you can wrap it up.
Yep. So what I hope you took away from today is how special these people are, because that's what I nerd out about is these people, and frankly, doing whatever it takes to get you and your community what you want. That is what Shaman is. And that is what we are here today. There's nothing hidden. There's nothing different. What you see today is what Shaman is. So I hope you see how special they are and what a joy they are to work with, because that's really what makes this. So that's my on the spot closer.
Thank you.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you.
I have no idea how to shut this down, so we go.
And cheap and just.
So I'll start, Jim, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Jim Duggan, Town Administrator.
Sean O'Hanlon, School Committee.
Mary Lee Mercy, Associate with Studio G, and I'm the PMPA for the project.
Suresh Bhatia, Project Director with the Planning Construction Management in partnership with other towns and here.
Mike Scuduto, Permanent Municipal Building Committee.
Peter Collins, OPM or Town Council here on behalf of the Building Building. So welcome, thank you. Appreciate the patience. Got here. So the floor is yours in a few minutes, but we have that general timeline of 50 minutes overall. I want to reserve about 20 minutes for the committee. So we were thinking 25 minutes for presentation, 5 minutes closing remarks. If you want to blend it all together, that's fine, but we'll keep it tight to that just because it'll be equitable based on the rest of the firms. So again, welcome. And I'm going to turn the floor over to the WT Rich team. Thank you very much. And the floor is yours.
Okay. All right. Little technology hurdle there, but good evening, everyone. My name is Jonathan Rich. I'm the CEO of WT Rich Company. And I want to start by saying, first off, thank you for the opportunity to be here. We're very excited about this project. We think it's a great fit for our firm. I also want to congratulate you on the successful funding of the project with the town meeting and then the town ballot vote on November 1st. And that's quite an accomplishment.
I'm Brian Santos. I'm the president of WT Rich.
So about a year ago, I was talking to OPM friend of mine, and we were discussing, debating, what do owners really want? What's really important to them in terms of a construction manager and what a construction manager brings to the table. We were talking about budget and schedule and quality and things like that. But where we kind of landed was what owners really value is a sense of peace of mind, right? They want to know that their project is going to be a success. They want to know that they picked a project partner or set of partners that really are not only capable, but really committed and have the owner's interests in mind. So that's something that we like to talk a lot about in our presentations and talking about WT Rich, is that the services we're bringing and the value we're bringing, it's all geared towards bringing a peace of mind, a sense of confidence, and trust that your project is going to be not just a success, but an outstanding success.
That's great. Thank you very much, Jonathan. So I also want to say congratulations on getting to the CM selection process. We have followed this project for a very long time. I know you've all started back in 2017, so congratulations to getting to this point. I know you're excited to move on with the construction process and select CM, and we're equally excited as well. But Jonathan kind of outlined bringing this peace of mind, okay? And this particular project team is going to be able to deliver on that with a high sense of collaboration and integrity. So as you can see here with the depth of our team, there's a few things that we really keep at the forefront of our thought process when we're doing school projects. Safety to the kids, students, visitors, and community, driving and paving the way to financial and schedule success, and ultimately recognizing that you are our client. We work for you every single day. And throughout the process, we want you singing our praises, whether that be through pre-construction services, construction services, or even post-construction and beyond. Another key aspect for us is being connected with all. We're very fortunate enough to have two direct teammates on the WT Rich team, and Rob Harrington, the project manager, and Steve Kudalakis, the MEP manager. They are Littleton residents. They're within 1 mile radius. Actually, Steve is 4 houses down, and we're happy to have them on this particular team. The core team consistency, this is what we do day in and day out. WT Rich builds school facilities. And this particular project team has worked together on multiple projects, such as other school buildings. Town experience, Jason Sperry did build the Littleton Fire Station. And Steve, talking about that connection, Steve Kudalakis does do a Loaves and Fishes food drive. He transforms his house during the Halloween season and has a whole bunch of people, and he'll get into that, come through, walking through his yard. So again, my name is Brian Santos. I'm also the principal on the job. Davida?
Yes. Good evening, everyone. My name is Davida Flynn, project executive. I have been building schools in Massachusetts for the last 20 years, having completed over 25 school building projects. I've been installing geothermal systems and photovoltaic systems since 2011, having quite a bit of experience in that field. I really look forward to the opportunity to bring that experience to the town of Littleton. Thank you.
Brian Verity, Senior Pre-Construction Manager, been in the industry for about 16 years and been involved in 9 K through 12 Massachusetts public schools. It's my passion. I have 2 kids in elementary school at home, and there's really nothing more rewarding than creating these environments for that generation. It's my job to set up this job for success from the very beginning, provide that guidance.
Good evening, everyone. Robert Harrington, project manager for WC Rich. Most of my experience has been building schools, so I'm very familiar with these types of projects. I also find that they always hit a little closer to home to me, literally in this case. You know, building something for future generations, students coming into and out of for years. I've always taken pride in that. It would be a pleasure to build something here in Littleton.
Good evening, everyone. Jason Sperry, post superintendent. I've been in the business 25 years, mostly municipal projects with a fair number of schools mixed in. I'm proud to say I was involved in the Littleton Fire Station. I look forward to working here again with you guys in the town of Littleton.
I'm Steve Kudalakis, MEP manager for WT Rich. I've been at WT Rich 11 years, 20 plus years in construction and engineering industry. But I live in the corner of Charles Street and Goldsmith. I don't know if you realize, every September, October, my house turns into a whole haunted yard. And I do that for a food drive to give back to Loaves and Fishes. This was a good year, but the government shut down everything else to give back to the community, filled my whole truck up with food just to be able to give back to the community. So that I'm really proud and something I love to give back to the community.
Thank you, Steve. So our focus for Littleton, what differentiates us from our competitors, are the 3 themes that you're going to hear throughout the presentation today and throughout the life of the job should we be the selected CM. The first thing is greatest peace of mind. You already heard John talk about this earlier, and I'm going to talk about it a little bit more in a second, but reassuring everybody involved they are in good hands is our priority. Most school for your money, really making sure that we are maximizing every dollar and getting you every bang for your buck. We will go into this in detail with hard facts and data to support what I'm saying here right now. Just give us a little bit. And then superior deliverables. It's not just a matter of feeling good, and it's not just a matter of spending your money as best that we can. It's really making sure that every aspect, every detail of the project is delivered in a superior way. And we will make sure that that happens. From start to finish, WT Rich will make sure that you are getting a superior package for this project. So greatest peace of mind. I want to talk a little bit about what that means to us and how we will deliver that to you. So to us, greatest peace of mind is freedom from worry, because the details are handled and the risks are managed. And that is something that we will bring to all stakeholders. This is parents, students, staff, immediate abutters, the broader Littleton community. This also includes the construction team, the municipal departments and entities that are going to be engaged in getting this project through to completion. Everyone and anyone involved, interested, concerned with this project, we will make sure that we are delivering them confidence and trust in this project from start to finish. One of the ways we feel that that can be done is hiring a CM with the right experience for your Shaker Lane project. And WT Rich, we believe that we have the right experience for your needs. 100% of the work that we do is Massachusetts public work. 70% of all of that is schools. 70% of our work is schools. 50% of our projects, half of them are on occupied sites. Again, this is something that we do, an experience we have that we want to bring to Littleton. I spoke earlier about my geothermal and photovoltaic experience, but that is carried throughout WT Rich. We built the first net zero school in Massachusetts several years ago. We've been building all electric buildings for well over a decade. We are used to specific sites that have nuances such as ledge removal, wetlands, and managing through all of that to make sure that there are no issues, that you guys, again, get what you've asked for. We will use this experience to deliver throughout the project. And just to give you a little bit of a sample, Jason's going to get us going with that experience of how we approach logistics.
So let's talk a little bit about logistics. So we're just going to focus on 3 aspects. Safety. I'm responsible for safety both inside and outside the fence, most importantly outside the fence, because that's where the kids are. As a dad, if I had kids in the school that was nearby, I'd want to know that their safety was at the forefront of everyone's mind. And our site team will tailor their routines to ensure that we're walking that site daily to make sure there's no breaks in the fence, so that really lets anything carries kids onto the site. We also want to minimize disruption. The kids are there to learn, and that's really what we intend to let them do without disrupting them. Really unaffect their daily lives and their learning experience. As well as the close proximity to the neighbors over on Shaker Lane. We know they're there, we know communication is going to be key, and we're going to have to really listen to them and hear their feedback. I apologize. Also cost. We really want an efficient site, really kind of minimize cost impacts. It can prevent delays and also protect your investment. Here you'll see the existing conditions. Really great site, lends itself to good separation between the existing school and the active construction site. I'm going to show you in a minute 4 configurations. But I'm going to focus more outside the fence because that's really what you guys are going to feel as a community, what's going on outside and how we're affecting you. So, patience. April 2027, we arrive on site. As you can see, there's really no change to the school activities. You guys are coming and going like we're not even there. We'll be opening up the street over here, working closely with your abutters to make sure that we really affect them minimally. Prioritizing the geothermal wells in hopes to give that ball field back to you early. We know Littleton's a big baseball, softball town. We want to get that back in your hands as soon as we can. And also, you'll see the playgrounds. We know that's important to you guys. You guys will have that playground until you get a new playground with the new school. So fall 2028, really the only change is you get your ball field back, which is cool. We set up a program on other projects. We'll do it here. Those kids who are knocking it out of the park, putting balls over the fence, we set up a ball retrieval program with signage and whatnot to let the kids or the parents come get the balls. Inside the fence, we're dealing with site finishes, interior finishes, commissioning, testing, balancing, and really preparing that building for occupancy. So configuration 3, summer of 2029, boom, guys get your new school. It's fantastic. You run your summer program in there, kind of a soft start, soft opening, which is good. You guys get to live there, feel what's like. We're maintaining access to Long Lake through the alongside Goldsmith Street. And then obviously you'll be coming and going for your new access off of Shaker Lane. All the while inside the fence, we're demoing the building and preparing the leaching fields. Here we go, August 2029. This is really when you guys are in school full time. Goldsmith's open. You're coming and going as you will for years to come. And then inside the fence, we're preparing for a final paving, finishing the fields. And then this is the best part right here, your new school. Me personally, it's the most rewarding part of the job is when you see these young kids coming. First day of school is always exciting for them, but first day of school in a brand new state-of-the-art building, it's fantastic, right? So, a little video there for you guys. Community management, so communication is key. And I'll host a coffee with the superintendent, which is myself. Basically communicating any disruptions or activities that are coming up with the abutters or the stakeholders, but also listening to any concerns. And I'll go as far as sharing my personal cell phone with the closest abutters to ensure that their concerns are addressed in real time. And if they can't get me, you guys already heard, those guys are right around the corner. So I'll leave it to Brian from there. Thank you.
So as you can see, we really want to focus on your priorities, and we know that budget has got to be a top priority. So we want to make sure that you feel confident in it. So I'm going to go over how we're going to get the most school for your money. Okay. So the next slide, this is how WT Rich's approach gets you that. First, we want to talk about accuracy, right? So our estimating mindset is accurate and achievable. We don't want to be overly conservative. A lot of CMs are overly conservative to make sure that we're more than covered. But that causes unnecessary VE and takes scope out of the project, and we really don't want to do that. We can get accurate estimates and have you covered because we have that estimating knowledge. We do school. This is what we do. We do MSBA schools. We're dedicated to the Massachusetts public sector. We have the internal data to make sure we can back that up. Lower direct costs. So we truly feel like we get preferred subcontractor pricing. Because of the way we run our jobs, efficient jobs, subs know they can rely on that, and we have really good personal relationships with them. Those personal relationships does not stop us from squeezing them, pre-GMP and making sure we're getting a really aggressive buy out there to get you that lowest GMP value that we possibly can. And then low indirect costs. We're responsible with our CM items. GRs, contingency and allowances. I think we have probably the most competitive rates there. Lowest, our insurance and bonds costs are definitely the lowest out of all of our competition. That is real dollars back into your project for program things like books, technology, things of that nature. So all of that is the best value for you. And we don't want to just talk the talk. We want to walk the walk. So at WT Rich, we like data. So the next slide here, this is all MSBA data off the MSBA website. This is cost per square foot, all escalated to today's dollar. As you can see, our competitors are somewhere between $900 per square foot and $920 per square foot. The project is at $840 per square foot. And as you can see, WT Rich, $820 per square foot. We're consistently delivering in the range that is needed for this project. So that's really important. And we're actually going to talk to some specifics of that.
Thank you very much. So budget observations are first and foremost, great job on setting the budget at $840 a square foot. We feel very, very confident in that pricing structure, considering some of our recent school projects coming in around $800 to $820 a square foot. So great job with all of that. But a few kind of highlights when it comes to our estimating mindset is having transparency. Right. When it comes to finances, everyone wants to know the numbers. We will take the time with you. We will go through each and every single line item. But one key element that I just want to point out is some of our competitors, we talk about general requirements. Sometimes they just list a percentage on there and say, yeah, ECC cost times this percent, it equals that. At WT Rich, we break it all down. We want to make sure that every single line item is covered. Value management, Brian talked about direct and indirect costs. We're going to talk a little bit about the MSBA process. WT Rich has 21 completed projects with the MSBA. We understand the ins and outs. We want to make sure that we're capturing every single dollar that the MSBA is putting up. Talk about intangibles, I'm sorry. Eligible and ineligible are things that they bring up, such as site work costs, energy efficiency, solar panels, things of that nature. So we're deeply, we understand that deeply. And when it comes to the CM approach, as Davida mentioned earlier, 95% of our work is CM, 70% of it is schools. We have that CM 149 mindset, but we also bring a GC mindset as well, where we're buying out subcontractors, we're squeezing them. We want to make sure that we're getting every dollar for you. Again, client driven, putting it back into the budget. There are some high attention items that we'll pay attention to. This is not the complete list, but only some items that we thought about: ledge removal, geothermal, MEP enhancements. We'll get into that during the pre-construction. Let's talk a little bit about superior deliverables. This is kind of the table of contents for future slides that my team is going to outline a little bit more specifically, but pre-construction, quality control, schedule, meeting milestones, things of that nature. But building performance, as Steve alluded to a little earlier, this is something that WT Rich has created, the building performance for owners. We're removing that anxiety at the end of the job when we're turning it over to you, because we're going to be on the project with you for the next 3 years, kind of managing and helping you through that process with maintenance and overall operation. Right.
All right, so it's important that we're going to deliver for you right off the bat, and that starts with pre-construction. So you hired a CM for a reason, right? We're not going to do just cost estimating and design reviews. We want to make sure we have a comprehensive list of services that we want to make sure we're excelling across the board with. And it's my job as the senior pre-construction manager to make sure that we're providing that leadership and that guidance from the very beginning, to provide that continuity throughout, and to make sure that I'm pooling the collective expertise of our team to make sure we're excelling across the board. But I want to point out what makes us different in pre-construction, and that's the way we partner with our clients, right? We want to get in there with you right off the bat and make sure we're aligning our goals together. We're nimble and resourceful. We're inherently not corporate. We want to be flexible. We want to make sure we're able to bend over backwards to do whatever it takes to get the job done, drive the job to success, and perform for you. How do we make sure we do that across the board? We have a survey system. It's so important to us. We make sure we're collecting that data on a bi-monthly basis to make sure we're aligning our goals together and making sure we're driving the process together through to success. To date, our pre-construction client satisfaction rating, that's 98%. Truly very proud about that. John would probably say that he wants it 100%, but you know, there's room for continuous improvement there. But again, that metric there defines success for us.
So diving into quality control, as we transition into construction, we understand that it's not just about quality to you, but an energy efficient building, reliable systems, and high functioning learning spaces are what's going to be important. So we've developed what we consider to be an industry leading quality control program. We call it Focus 5. What that consists of is 2 upfront meetings, pretty much from the day the subcontractors are signed up, sitting down with them, really outlining expectations for the project, and then 3 follow-up inspections periodically, throughout construction. Starts with every material that's delivered to the site. We're taking a look at it, making sure it meets what was submitted and approved, so nothing's sneaking by us. And then as work's getting put in place, we're taking a look, trying to catch any quality concerns that come up as early as possible, so there's not repeat incidents. Another thing we pride ourselves on is we always try to expedite a classroom mock-up, getting the space built in real life, having you come in, take a look at it, ensuring that it's going to meet your needs. And if there's something that needs to be adjusted, we're starting that conversation, allowing time for that to take place. Optimizing the schedule. We've gone through, taking a look at the schedule, and the big things we had in mind with it, we wanted it to be achievable, cost effective, minimal disruption, And contractor compelling is one I like to hit on. And what does that mean? We have a schedule that's really good, compelling to contractors. They want to bid the project. They want to win the work. And they're going to give us the best value. Even if we can squeeze 1 to 2% out of them based on a competitive schedule, that's upwards of $1 million back into, like Brian said earlier, your programs, your school. And of course, above all, accommodating the community and school needs. So we have made a few changes to the RFP schedule, but one thing you'll notice is we have not changed any of the dates for the design documents. We think the schedule Studio G put together was really good. We didn't see any reason to adjust it. We don't want to put pressure on people for no reason. One change we've made is introduced a pre-qualification, or pulled in, the pre-qualification process. And really the intent there is the day those 100% documents come out, we want to know subs are pre-qualified. We're getting the documents out to them. We're starting to get them bidding so we can really hit the ground running. We've also introduced one early bid package that's ledge, geothermal, utilities, and structure. Really trying to take advantage of those summer months, hit the ground running out the gate, and minimize disruption. So here you'll see an overall kind of rough schedule of the construction. I'm not going to get into every detail here, but the 2 key points: phase 1 substantial completion, February of 2029, and phase 2 in December of 2029. We've also highlighted 2 key areas that we see as having the most potential to disrupt the school and your activities, that being the force main and the permanent sewer transition. We've slated those in for the summers of 2028 and 2029, trying to minimize that disruption, not interrupting learning that's taking place during the school year. Ultimately, we know these 2 things are going to need to be coordinated, open dialogue, so that we're all on board with the approach and working together. Now, here's really where you're going to see the benefit of that early bid package I talked about earlier. With phase 1 substantial completion in February, we're allowing 4 months for fixtures, furnishing, and equipment, your move-in, and for our commissioning and punch lists to take place. So that's 4 months to ensure that when you move into the building and you take control of that space, you're not interrupted by us finishing up punch list items, commissioning. We've had time for all that. We've addressed it. The building is yours. But we're not done there. I'll turn it over to Steve. We do stick around, like Brian said earlier. I'll let Steve talk about the building performance for owners.
Thanks. As we transition the building from construction to occupancy, it's always a very stressful moment. You're getting a brand new building, you don't know how to operate it. Our goal, and my goal, is to make sure that that transition is as seamless as possible. And that's our building performance program was generated because of that, to eliminate that stress. That starts at the prepare stage. That's all of our pre-construction related services and our BPO program. We want to make sure we understand the owner's needs. We align the design with those needs. We execute all. We review the deliverables that you guys need to execute them at the turnover stage. We perform all of our construction related activities with that BPO program. Fully functional, fully tested. That makes, what that is us testing everything, all systems of the building, making sure your emergency response plans, your mass notification plans have been tested with the owner, with the staff, with the facilities, to make sure they know how to operate the building. And then last thing I want to hit is occupant user guide. It's not an owner operation manual. It's a detailed guide so you know how to operate your building on a day-to-day basis. And then our maintain costs. It's our 3-year post-occupancy support program. For that first year, we're extremely hands-on, making sure all contractor perform maintenance is getting done for that first year. Years 2 and 3, we step back a little bit. We do quarterly check-ins to make sure that you're hitting your operating targets, your energy targets, and the preventative maintenance is still getting completed. And I know it says 2 to 3 years. I'm a resident, I'm a neighbor. I'm always going to be there for you to answer questions. Either I'm walking my dog around the school, to talk with the teachers. I'm always going to be there to make sure you guys are operating the building.
Nice.
I hit the button, right?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think you're gonna say 50 years. You'll be here for 50 years. 4 houses down, so I'm just gonna put it out there. 50 years.
You're gonna retire.
Congratulations. So this is the last slide, and I'll probably turn it over to Jonathan for the final remarks, because we're at the 25-minute mark. But just kind of bringing it all together here. It's about excellence and partnership, right? We live and breathe these construction school projects. As I said earlier in the presentation, you are a client. We want you singing our praises throughout all the phases. It's the greatest peace of mind for all the stakeholders, not only us in this room, but for the whole community as well. Most school for your money, maximizing every single dollar, paying attention to the MSBA, going to be particularly important. And then superior deliverables. We talked about quality control and our Focus 5 and things of that nature. But ultimately, I just want to point out the schedule. W.T. Rich has been building schools for a very long time. We have never missed a school opening. So I'll let that one speak for itself. When we were looking at your website, we did see your core values of honesty, effort, acceptance, respect, and take responsibility for heart. These things really do touch us. The intangible words that we like to use as well are transparency, trust, commitment, and partnership. Construction is very challenging. That's how we deal with those challenges together that really proves project success. So I just want to say thank you very much for having us as well. We do have other slides, supplemental slides, such as technology, lean, sustainable efforts. We don't have enough time to talk about all those things, but maybe you have it in Q&A. And I'm going to turn it over to Jonathan for final remarks. Do you want to do the final remarks?
I'm going to turn it over to them. Let's do, if we can do the final, it's probably 1 minute or 2 minutes most closing statement at the very end.
You're fine. You only got 3 minutes left if you wanted to take.
Let's do the Q&A.
Yeah, and you guys, which one you want to do?
And then we'll do the closing statement at the end, if that's possible.
That's fine. If you're good with the presentation.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Let's just keep rolling with some thoughts. So great presentation. Thank you. Everybody got engaged and presented their roles, what they do and so on, which was nice. Thank you. I'm going to turn it over to the chairman and the committee to ask some random questions. So see what you guys come up with for some dialogue here. And
I'm going to reverse order too if you're ready.
sure.
Thank you. Couple parts to this question. How do you foresee yourself implementing and enforcing the Corey process for all the contractors and visitors? And do you have a onboarding process as contractors arrive? What is?
I can speak to that. So we use a software called Siteform, and everyone logs in day one. They get a 45-minute orientation, and at that point, we'll know if they've been queried or not, if they've been approved. But that starts with they'll get a number saying, "Hey, you've been queried. You're number 64. You can go out and about." But yeah, that's our onboarding, and we'll know. We typically will know ahead of time before they arrive to the site if they've been approved or not. If they haven't, it's come back when your paperwork's cleared or not at all, essentially.
Yeah, I'll add on to that. I think it starts in our preparation with the quarries. Before we prepare all the documents and the specification for a form outline the requirements to the subcontractors. One of those requirements is to give us an advanced manpower plan. Do we get some names? So when we do the kickoff meeting before they come onto the job site, we getting all that paperwork and submitting it to the school for processing. So it's all in our preparation of that because we surely don't want any delays to move forward with the actual construction operations. And Jim, you want to repeat the second question for us, please?
Sure. It's find it.
Well, it's about the orientation and
the orientation. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what Jason addressed.
Yeah, okay, you addressed that one.
So we use the site form, but it's in person as well, to make sure they're going through the orientation. Site, there's a kind of a standard piece and then there's a site specific piece related to every single worker. They're not allowed to work on site until they've gone through that safety orientation and job orientation. Yeah. I just want to say one more thing on the Corey. So we're going to work with you guys to understand your Corey process. Usually what happens is there's someone on the school side of things that's ultimately responsible for reviewing the Corey paperwork. So in simplest terms, we're responsible for collecting it, presenting the person with their ID. Sometimes we do the ID verification, we present the paperwork. Sometimes the school, the district wants to see the person directly with their ID. And then the district usually does the actual check and they decide what the criteria are in terms of, whether the person has any issues or not.
Something to be learned. Are you guys going to be doing any of the work yourself, any of the trades, self-performing?
No, when it comes to self-performing, we like to say that we do ad hoc work. We do have laborers and carpenters on staff, so we'll do selective demo, like if we're trying to investigate hazardous conditions in the existing building, our own forces will do that. We'll work with your hazmat consultant to identify those things. We also have carpenters on staff that will do our own survey, we'll do our own carpentry work. But when it comes to actually bidding the work, we will not do that. Given the market conditions, everything is extremely competitive right now. We believe that it's almost a disservice to bid. Our job is to get the best prices for you, and that's really our main focus.
Thank you. Right. So throughout the project, when parents go to drop off kids, is that going to be consistent the way they access the property? Doesn't change throughout the time?
I think the long and the short of it is yes.
Great. And then obviously this is a school site. What kind of safety precautions are you taking with the site? I think one of you mentioned it a little bit, but obviously fencing and so on, but it is an active school site. What kind of precautions are you taking?
Yeah, I'll take that, Jason.
Sorry?
You want?
Yeah, absolutely. I thought you wanted to take it. Sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, we know young kids are right there, right? So, and they're curious. They want to get in there. So we're going to focus our day on keeping them up. So there'll be multiple people on site with my staff. We will walk the site, repeatedly throughout the day to ensure that there's no breaks. Furthermore, we'll make sure the site's great. It's not a lot of activities close by to the school is kind of active. So the separation is going to really be, it's in the design already, but for a lot of it. But yeah, I think the biggest part is maintaining that fence, and anytime that work gets close by, one of our subdivides are really there, keep paying attention to what's going on.
I know that my kids liked big, shiny trucks and equipment, so that kind of draws their attention.
Like father, like son.
Yeah. What's it gonna be, right? So I think, again, I keep on using this word preparation. In our other school buildings that we've done when it comes to active campuses, we really want to know like the emergency evacuation plans too. We want to know those egress doors. We want to know, work with the local jurisdiction, the fire department, police department. Like, what are those emergency procedures that we have? So we really deeply want to understand that. So we're not impacting that at all. So I just wanted to mention that because I think it's critically important when we're talking about a large construction project here. We want to make sure that we're providing those visual barriers to not take away from the day-to-day education for those little guys and gals. Yeah.
Great.
So I guess follow-up to that, do you have any suggestions for student engagement, especially considering how young they are?
Anybody else want to take that? Student engagement?
I mean, I
We
can.
can move some equipment out there.
We
and get
do,
them on.
honestly, with the older kids, we usually get them more involved, we'll take them on tours, but with the younger kids, we can schedule tours and save times, maybe off hours. But it's getting them involved with Legos and learning opportunities and really being able to touch these things and get engaged with what we're doing, bringing pieces of materials in for them to see what we're working with. Really anything and everything, we kind of keep them interested in, and maybe get some kids who actually want to go into the construction industry, because that would be even better.
These guys would be more than happy to visit a classroom, do a demonstration. Sure. Yeah. Rob's done it, and Davita's done. They've all done that, and
yeah, get them on a crane. That's a big deal. Maybe we won't do that.
I'll say we're going, and I'll stand out of me. Just kidding.
All right, I have a couple more questions. Please. Could you describe sort of, as the architect versus the CM, the amount of collaboration that needs to happen to make sure that we're really, making this the most bang for your buck? Do you have any, maybe an example of how it's worked in the past, or just describe what it would really look like on a day-to-day basis?
You guys want pre-con?
Me or if you take it, doesn't matter.
yeah. So again, it really starts with right off the bat understanding design. So I think right away we would set up meetings and make sure we're on the same page, and some of these early estimates, making sure we're really understanding the scopes and capturing that right from the very beginning with the budget. Like we said, we want to make sure that we're accurate, right? And then we're we'll be engaging subcontractors from the very beginning to be attracted to the job, to make sure that they're providing real pricing for it, so to make sure that that's accurate. I think, you guys got the 840 budget, we feel like is a really good budget. If there is, once we dig into the scope, if there's things that we need to take a look at for value management, we can provide as many options as, try to make that as streamlined as possible. We have a very good process for that, and we'll just make sure that we outline every option to discuss together to make sure we're getting the most.
One thing I would add is like really important that first off, the dialogue has to be very, very open, continuous, like the access, how that works, whether it's phone calls or emails, whatever, that's really important. That gets established early. The other thing is really understanding the design intent. So we can add more value if we're understanding like what is the real intent here, what are the goals, what are some of the options here. I think having page turners with you guys are really important, right? At the right time, sitting down. We usually do those shortly after each design iteration. We get familiar with a few days and we do a page turn and things like that. So us understanding that, your perspective, also understanding it from the owner of the OPM, trying to understand everyone's perspective. But that dialogue, I mean, I think our estimating team is really good at, having that dialogue, examples of collaboration a lot of times. And we have jobs right now where, either the OPM or the architect is saying, I'm thinking about, we have one where they're doing, they have to do a swing space for their auto tech center that they're demolishing. So they're got to do one, but they also want it to be a permanent building long-term for storage. And they're like, can you give us a quick ballpark estimate on this? We're like, sure. Can you give just a little sketch of what you're looking for? And like, we go back and forth and then we give them an estimate on that. And it was like, well, that's a little higher than we thought. And then we explain why. And then they say, oh, we can address that. So that's like an example of how we would not just stay within the bounds of here's a design set, but we can really kind of work in addition to that to try to figure things out together.
All right, still more. Sweet. So the building is very tight up against wetland buffers, and we've got some paving happening within the buffers, and then we also have slopes down to some of the abutters. What generally does the plan look like for protecting those wetlands during construction?
So we're gonna have to, we don't want to show technically all that stuff in our logistics plan. It's just like too much, but a lot of times we'll get together right off the bat. First of all, we got to understand the final civil design, kind of how that evolves. But to control runoff, you need to make sure that your site is properly graded, use swales, use settling areas, make sure that utilize some of the permanent drainage to make sure that any overflow doesn't cause any issues and it drains out properly. Just a lot of the things that you need to make sure you're paying attention to. You set it up so we don't want to cause an issue to an adjacent property, obviously. So that's a lot of the stuff that we engage in early on and try to come up with a good plan, but then also talk to you about, we go through the process with Concom and all that and try to understand, the priorities and make sure that everybody understands what we're doing. And I know talking to Jason, getting the Concom and everybody out there to make sure that, they're comfortable with what we have set up out there at all times. Yeah.
Constantly inspecting, so we expect our site civil guy to do his inspections for the SWIP. We, on top of it, do our own bi-weekly, even though so there's 2 sets of documents showing those inspections, which is very helpful, I find.
All right, and then last question. They've had the camp that happens during the summer. How can we keep the camp in operation over the course of the project?
Yeah, I think we showed there that we intend that we know that that's a concern for you guys. So I think you'll have the existing school right until you get the new school, and that summer program of 29 should be moving into that new school, and that's the whole thought is we're going to give that's your little setup program, which is good. I think it'll be helpful to get in that school and kind of feel it out before you get the whole student body in there. But we did also take an approach to give the summer program access to Long Lake along the Goldsmith Road with our site effects plan.
Do they have access to the field?
They'll have access to the ball field.
Yeah, okay.
Once you guys get that back, it's yours for the.
Probably the trickiest time will be, actually summer of 27, because we're gonna set up our site, we're gonna start the geothermal, so.
Yeah.
You'll have your whole school, and you'll have your whole parking lot, and you'll have the little 4 square area, but that area for fields, summer of 27 and summer of 28 will be under construction. Near the end of 28, just not in the nick of time, we're gonna try to turn that ball field over for fall ball, but not during the summer. So you'll have the whole school area for those first 2 summers. The last summer is easiest. You have that whole school area, and now that baseball field is wide open. Your playgrounds are always open. There is some work summer of 28. We want to get in there. We want to actually start to put in the force main. There's a whole kind of sequencing issue around the existing force main and the new force main, the new septic field, and how you transition those. So there's a lot we won't get into the details of that unless you guys are really, unless you guys want to.
We have a slide for that.
But yeah, we heard that the campus is active for the summer program. So we're very sensitive to that. We're gonna make sure we leave you definitely the existing school, the existing area of those from
The play area, the playground, that big wall. That big thing they've got. That'll be accessible the whole time. So,
Yeah, if a ball wall at all times, permanent design, I saw it in the documents as a ball wall.
Yeah, it's very popular.
Yeah.
Problem with the summer, you just have to move the dumpster out of the way, part of it, right?
So he said during 2028 with the force main work on kind of the occupied side, I just wanted to point out where that was, so. It'll basically be us doing it in segments, isolating our work. It's in, I don't know if you can see my cursor a little bit, but it's up here. And it'll be during the summertime, so it'll be the summer program to contend with, so we'll just have to be communicating and making sure they have access to everywhere that they need.
Ball wall, let's do it.
Good question. One is, how are you dealing with tariffs right now?
Great question.
Yeah.
I'll take that one. Honestly, I feel like there was an initial shock value with tariffs. And I feel like it's kind of subsided. There was a lot of back and forth with like steel prices and wood prices and things like that, but I feel like it's kind of just soaked in, if you will, now. So we're not adding anything additional to our estimates for tariffs. We went through a phase of that, to be honest. I think everybody did, but I feel like it's just been incorporated into everything, so there's really no special. Yeah, you want to
Approve it?
Yeah, you want to just talk about that a little bit?
We did add some language into our contracts so that if there is a tariff claim, there is a list of what they have to prove before we would even consider any sort of upcharge. It goes, your original quotes, your original invoices, replacement. If something were to come up, I think we've got the requests in there to make sure that they've really got to do their due diligence to prove there was a financial impact to
That
that.
hasn't come up on our recent bids.
There's actually an interesting dynamic in play that I'd say for the last 12 months, contractors have actually gotten really hungry for work. The private sector been slowed down for a while. There's, I don't know, a little slowdown, maybe nervousness about the economy in other areas. And contractors really want work. So you have this, they want work, which is driving their prices low. And then you got fear of tariffs with bringing it back. But they've been able to, like, we've been getting really good pricing for the last 12 months from subs. And it's almost defies logic, the tariffs. But most people will have a wording in there about any, and we just say, hey, if the tariffs identified, known about now, you own it. And if there's new tariffs, we kind of say, well, like we said, you're gonna, like, we're not handing out money, okay, for tariff claims. Like, we make it pretty onerous on that in terms of what they have to prove. But I think you want a balance, right? You want them enough comfort so they don't just pad. If you make the language too draconian, then you're not going to get the good price. Right?
Thank you. And one more question would be, on your schedules, do you do cost loading and manpower loading or none?
Like on our schedule updates?
Or when you do the initial, your schedule with your subcontractors, with all your vendors, do they provide you with manpower? How much manpower would they be bringing in, or do you give them time durations? How do you?
We'll usually talk through, what do you expect to see for manpower on a job of this size and based on our schedule. We do write in milestone dates for when people need to be done with certain things in the spec. And then really just in our D-scope calls during buyout, driving those home, making sure they're aware. We don't get too nitty gritty into, how many people are you expecting on the job site, but really driving home, like we have a schedule, we need to meet it. If you're awarded the job, there's an expectation there, and then staying on top of that throughout. Really.
So, as we know, most specifications want a manpower loaded, cost loaded schedule. If I'm being honest, we don't always do that. We have a conversation because the times we've done it, the value that is created seems to be much less than the effort that goes in. Where we have people like the MBTA that says, we don't care, we want it, we do it, right? So, but the thing I would say is when we've been doing our lean planning and our pull planning with lean, then you see it's the flow of the work is managed at a much finer level, and all that work has resource commitments against it. So we use this tool called Touch Plan that lines up all the pull planning, and it'll show you actually what manpower is based on their plan that they came up with. We came up together for drywall to show, next 6 weeks, it says you're gonna have 5 people, then 6 people, then 6 people, then 7 people. So that's the way we manage the manpower side of it. So does that answer your question?
I just wanted to add just one final thing to that. I think you're around it. The touch plan and the pull plans, we are getting subcontractors' input, right? They are in the meetings, they are the ones creating the tickets. So I think it's above and beyond any other type of OPC type of resource or manpower projection that you would get. The lean and the pull planning is the way that we're going. And that's
Just the
you're getting
ticket,
much better buy from the.
yeah, the tickets are finer detail of what's going on, so.
Thanks for coming. In terms of your pre-con services, I see you pre-con manager here. How do you integrate the estimators? And I know you use MEP consultants for the estimating on the MEP side and the VDC into the pre-con process.
In the VDC into the pre-con
Yeah.
process.
So
We have our in-house estimating team, and we have MP estimators, all that we work with. So that's kind of its own separate thing. The VDC part of it, we incorporate. We do clash detections at every design iteration. Not sure if every CM does that, but we do that. Yeah, right from the very beginning, we ask for the model as soon as we get the documents. So while we're doing the estimate, we will do a clash detection, and we'll provide a full report on everything that is is clashing at that time, so that we, as a part of our design review package, where we get the full team, Steve, everybody here will be involved. Steve will be on, commenting on MEPs. We do hire out Liston to get design review comments. So we pool all that feedback and the clash detection, and we give it in a package that will hopefully is as easy for you to kind of collaborate with. And we'll go over that at the very beginning. What's the easiest way? We use Bluebeam sessions and kind of mark right up on the drawings. A lot of design teams like that. But to answer your question, we have estimating team kind of involved in the estimate, and then we have separate, full team effort on design reviews, and we do the clash detection in the within the models that they've.
Yeah, I'm not sure you're saying this, but VDC is entirely in-house for our.
Okay.
Yeah. We do contract out this one firm we work with a lot, Logan. They do MEP, and we've actually found that they do so much MEP estimating in the public sector that they're like incredibly, it's like almost that volume of what they do. They're an incredibly good source, and it's worked out really well for us. But the VDC between Steam and total MEP department, VDC is what, 7 people now? 6, 7?
9 actually.
9. Well,
Yeah.
I will just add, I love the integration of the VDC early, getting the models and the estimate, because it also kind of weighs in on beam penetrations, floor penetration, coordination, elevations, things of that nature. So we're doing that early on in the overall process. So I find that to be a real benefit as well.
Good. Good. Thank you.
Any other questions?
You tight on with your estimators, the whole line, yeah, and clearly you could expand a little bit more. Do you foresee anything coming back to the town? Savings?
Oh, great question. I think at the $840 square foot price right now, we're feeling pretty comfortable about that. I will say, I'll answer with our previous projects. We have, on a majority of our jobs, given back substantial amount of savings in projects. I will also add, when it comes to like GMP or CM contingency, we keep that relatively low for a particular few reasons. One, we feel that when we're doing our de-scoping and coordinating the final numbers with the subcontractors, that we're well-rounded, covering the scope properly. So we don't have to carry a large CM contingency. So those are monies that will come back to you early in the process and go back to the program. Because we're not carrying like 3% CM contingency. We're not gonna do that. Actually, on this particular job in new buildings, I think probably around 1.5% for a new building like this. So that's pretty low. And I think that speaks volumes to what we're trying to do financially. So I'll venture to say yes, we'll do better.
I would say it this way though, Jim. When we go to GMP, I think we're gonna need every penny of that 840, okay? Like, we're not gonna say, hey, we're gonna give you a GMP for $800. You got a relatively big site, you've got ledge and you've got geothermal, right? So I think 840, we're gonna do everything we can to hold your budget. But then after the fact, where we bring money back to you in two ways. Unspent CM contingency, which even at 1.5%, on average, we give half of that back to the owner for their own use. And then keeping the change orders low. We just finished Norwood Middle School. It's $117 million project. We had less than 1% total change orders on the project. So that's another area we can give money back to you. But the budget itself, that's a good number. It's a good number. I think we should all be really happy when we give you a GMP if we're selected for 840. That's like in today's dollar with the geothermal. That's
with geothermal.
Yeah, with geothermal, that's a very good number that you're shooting for, and we're excited to be able to do it. But I don't want to mislead you and say, hey, we come in at $810 a square foot.
Yeah, I don't want to do that either.
Thank you. Good. Sure, maybe, I just had one question during the presentation, if you don't mind. On the schedule, I think, did you say you're starting in April of 27? And you're finishing in February of 29? Is that about right?
Phase one turnover, yes.
Phase one.
Of the new building.
The new building.
Yeah.
Right. Out of those early April of 27, but how many early bid packages were you contemplating?
One package would consist of one more geothermal, civil, and structure. So that would be concrete and steel.
Sure.
Okay. But I think that's. I just want to double check here.
No, it's fine. It's just kind of about just looking. So you're looking at about a 22-month construction window, give or take, start to end. I don't know. I'm not looking down to the day.
Yes. What I would say is we're starting foundations July of 27. So that other work is ledge removal,
site prep.
Site prep,
clear, mobilize.
And what drives the foundations is the timing of when we do that early package, which we want to do at 90% CDs. We don't want to do an early superstructure package any earlier than 90% CDs. So usually 90%. Drawings are stable enough to do a good solid 90%. That gives us July. So it ends up being, I think we had 19 months from foundations to substantial completion, which I think, if that's what you asked me, because I would say 22 is a little long for this size building, but 19 is about right size for foundations to completion.
So February, site prep mobilized, July, June, you start from foundations, and so you get clear grub, soils.
April will start, yeah.
All that prep for the site.
Yep.
Okay, just kind of planning like.
We also want to get the geothermal going. The sooner we start the geothermal, the sooner you get your ball field back. As simple as that, right? So we wanted to get that going, and it can be a long time to do the drilling, depending on what types of conditions and water conditions they hit, but we want to make sure we have a good amount of time for that.
Speaking of geothermal, so IRA funding or sustainability, I know somebody mentioned sustainability earlier.
Yeah.
Read it by the slide, maybe you do, you don't. Any feedback on IRA funding, how you participate in that, or what do you think about IRA funding and sustainability?
As it relates to geothermal, it's making sure that we buy it correctly, American made, the right pipe fitters, so you've got your journeyman apprentices for the program, so you're getting the maximum IRA credits possible, right, because there's the different levels. It's not an easy task to get those credits, but we've seen it achieved. We've been part of the process, but we haven't yet gotten to the actual final submission yet. It's not easy, but there are ways to guide rail it so that we can get there as close as possible.
You had success in past projects getting some rebates from the government funding?
We have not completed a project yet with the IRA.
Okay.
We're going through it right now, but
Okay.
I mean, there's been a lot of other rebate programs we participated in,
Sure.
recharging and,
Correct.
energy performance and all that, but I think for the IRA funding, we have not. We're in the process for one.
Yeah, I know it's a moving target sometimes
Yeah.
as well.
One last thing, you mentioned the ledge. How are you going to get rid of it? You blowing it, or are you gonna, I don't know what else you guys do.
Yeah.
With a hammer truck, there you go.
Yeah.
Big hammer, what happens with the neighbors and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I think the ideal, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, is a hammer. I think there's gotta be some more investigation, what the proper steps would be. I think as soon as you say blasting, of course, there's a perception that comes with that with the community, right? Let's just face it.
Oh, die hard, right?
We've done blasting projects before. I've done them in my community. And it just comes with a myriad of questions afterwards, but I think we just need to do some more evaluation on how to properly do that.
Yeah, we have to look at the scope because impact removal is a little more expensive, so. We were trying to target a lot of the ledge removal be that first summer. And that's when you can maybe get away with some blasting if it makes sense. Usually for the building, where it's a big mass area, blasting could make sense. Then what I worry about for ledges when there's a lot of utility.
Right?
Yeah, the trenching. And it's not always as easy to quantify in advance, so you gotta have a good unit price structure. But yeah, I think we'd have to look at that with you guys and look at the cost options of both and look at the timing. You still have your summer program, obviously.
What about your interaction with the bottom neighbors? How does that work?
Mind if I address that?
Go for it. Go right ahead.
So there's a certain square foot or square miles around any sort of blast site that you need to survey them, or at least afford them the opportunity to allow you to survey their property. So you would go in and photograph it, we would document existing conditions, again, within that certain area around it. And then we would go back after if we needed to, if they had complaints, if anything came up, just really making sure that they understand. Also, if we are blasting, communicating. On Monday at 8 AM, 11 AM, and 2 PM, you're gonna have a both. Like making sure they understand what's coming and when. Also with that though, is having our own protection, vibration monitors on site. Things of that nature, so that we know if they're complaining about vibrations, are we actually sending a vibration to them that could damage their property? Having that data available to us as a team will be invaluable, usually is. The open dialogue, the communication, what we've always been talking about, we will have that with the abutters as well. Before we do any of the work, again, whether it's blasting or hammering. And then just keeping that dialogue open as we go.
Did DeVita ran a project at Pentucket High School up in West Newbury where we blasted right next to the existing high school, right?
Yeah.
They didn't seem to mind. High school.
Great to stretch.
No incidents. There were no incidents. But yeah, no, it's an important question.
Okay, I think we're coming to the end here, go fine. Anything else from the committee? Any other thoughts, questions, things like that? Okay, we'll turn it back to the team here, if you want to do any closing remarks, if you so choose.
We will. We'll keep them short because it's getting late for everybody. But yeah, I just want to say from WT Rich's perspective, I mean, this is, you know, to say this type of project is in a sweet spot, I think is an understatement, right? This is the core of what we do. We are committed to the Massachusetts public building sector. Our vision statement is to be the best construction manager in the Massachusetts public building sector. It's something we take very seriously. It sounds initially like a really broad general statement. But when you bring it to life and you run into challenges or hurdles, whatever, and I asked my team, well, what would the best construction manager in the Massachusetts public building sector do? Or more importantly, when an architect or an OPM or an owner asks us that same question, it really brings to light often what the best choice is. But this is really what we do. We do schools, we do Chapter 149A. We do a lot of, so many schools today are built adjacent to the existing school. And then you tear it down at the end and you put in the fields. That's the model. I also just want to comment on this team. This is an exceptionally talented team. WT Rich, we pride ourselves on having only A teams. This team is really deep in their experience. And the one thing I will say is, with WT Rich in this team, you will never doubt for a minute that we're advocating for the owner's best interests. That's what we operate from. That's what we pride ourselves on. And I think that's what really differentiates ourselves. So we would love the opportunity to, you know, bring our services to the town of Littleton in this important project. And we thank you for your time.
Great, thank you. Appreciate everybody thinking about it. Thank you very much.
Just so you guys, so you know, this QR code. You want to overcomplicate the logistics, but there's an animation of the logistics that, which is pretty neat. It kind of shows you like how things are moving. So, pretty easy to scan it.
No, you should see it. Yeah. No, I felt yeah. Maybe give it some of this. Thank you. There's different. Does anybody want to tell me your, on a piece of paper, your interview scores? I think Sean, you've given me two. You write them down? What am I doing? Do that, what do you guys think? Keep looking at those proposals, I'll compare the sheet. I should have had this ready for me. Hand on. I'll do it. Fill it in, got it done. Go back at me and I'll fill it in. That's the interview sheet out of potential 20 points. Sheet that's going, standard that's going down. What I can say while we're sitting here, I'll wait. Guys, let me know when you're finished. Any questions regarding the pricing sheets? You see Gilbane gave us two pricing sheets. One for an accelerated, I'll call it an accelerated schedule, maybe alternate schedule, and they'll use their word. Alternate schedule where they indicated they can deliver the project a year early. That, the 2.3 million in savings.
So
Right, that's what they're estimated, correct?
So I talked to Stephen E. last this morning to kind of run this by him. And he said that it could cost more to borrow sooner. So it might just end up washing. So it doesn't say people wasn't saving. It was probably the washing, is what he said.
Right, and, did you tell them the 2.3 million?
He did. Because he said basically you would have one less year to contribute to savings, and so the bond would be higher, and then therefore the interest would cost more. Right, because you don't have as much savings to stabilization fund.
Right.
So therefore the bond amount tends to be more, and then you have higher
Right.
interest as well. There's also a thought that if we waited a little longer, interest rates might come down more. But that's a smaller piece of it, but that was what, because I wanted to reach out to him and, not surprise him on the side of it.
No, that's smart. Right.
So one thing I will call out though, is that if we do this a year sooner, it makes us eligible for MSBA again, and we do need to put a new roof on the high school.
Right.
So perhaps they fund 25% of that and it costs $4 million to do, get $1 million back. So again, you don't want to be evaluating that really in this process, but that's what the extra year really gives us. Not really a money savings, it's an opportunity to get in line for the MSBA again, in my opinion.
Is there serious consideration that the alternate schedule proposed is realistic?
of being accepted?
And it'll actually materialize.
Well,
It's, to me, it seems, well, I'll let you, what people think. Do you think, I'm not sure it can really be pulled off.
Okay.
so Gilbane did something very similar to this on the Florence Roach School. Actually, it was probably a lot more aggressive on the Florence Roach School. And I've seen them pull it off. I know they can. So, it does add a little bit of extra work on the design side of things. Because we do have to be pulling these packages together while we're also doing the design drawings. But it is true that, you know, we have the steel pretty much figured out early on in the process. We have to, that's just how it goes, right? So then that was an interesting thought about it being a wash, basically saving money. But right now, you know, Shaker Lane is sort of on borrowed time. So there is that part too of getting this done there as soon as possible. Yeah.
That's a good point, yeah. It is possible, no question about it. Is it gonna be a challenge? Yes. Can they pull it off? They certainly can be done. If they don't, if the conditions are set right and everything will be to work, you know, towards that, no question. The biggest question would be, does it work for the town for the financial part of it? Because, you know, you might say there are 2 million, but you're gonna spend something else and you know, that's the taxpayer, how does that impact them? That's one of the questions. It's a balancing act and, you know, because at the end of the day, you're getting the same amount of money from the state, you're not getting any more, so it's the question is, what's the impact to the town eventually?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, I'm not indicating it's not possible, I just don't take it immediately at face value. Because there is other efforts and requirements for other project team members that should meet what the contractor's anticipating. That's all. Is it impossible? No. Is it a slam dunk? No. It's just, it's balanced. And as Mary Lee says, their office will have to, you know, expedite and accelerate a few things on their end. There'll be other gymnastics other team members have to do to fulfill that requirement.
They did do that during COVID. Like we got slammed probably the worst possible timing during COVID. And a lot of their accelerated schedule made it so they could buy stuff really early. And so when we're hitting lead times of 60 weeks, it didn't impact the overall project schedule.
And so 2 of the 4 have suggested accelerating the time frame, right? Wasn't Shaw and Gilbane?
They all sort of did.
From what-
Gilbane promised a year, Shaman said 9 months.
Right.
Insignia said 2 months.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, 2 months.
I'd say probably the 6-month time frame is probably the safer bet. It's somewhere around 6 months.
Yeah.
I would say if we're moving into the school in the fall or summer, it's gonna be so much less of a headache for the people at that school.
Yeah.
So, you know, is it worth accelerating it another 3 months if you're moving in February?
Right.
Yep.
While I'm doing this, any questions on the pricing summary that I threw out? You probably just take a look on this sheet here. See, let's just say under the pre-construction services, underneath the various numbers, the various fees of the various companies, I just put numbers next to the rankings as far as lowest to highest. And if you don't mind, I still have some more entries to here, but so what I ended up doing, and again, this is just me putting a matrix together, up for discussion for sure. On the summary proposal, not that price is everything, but as we saw, there's 20 points available under the price proposal sections, and there's 5 categories. So each of the 5 categories have a total of 4 points. With that said, the firm that submitted the lowest number got 4 points. The firm that submitted the highest number got 1 point, and so on and so on. So I did that across the board already here, if that's, it's a method to come to a number. That's not to say it's the final number or the final selection, but it's a process. So think about that for a minute. I'm gonna continue to do this, and then I can share with you the summary numbers momentarily.
Mike, I'd be interested in hearing from you what you felt were the differentiators among the 4 firms.
Yeah, I would say the WT Rich team, they're like a good company, but the overall team, like the super, I noticed on the resumes, didn't really have a lot of. Sure, the fire station, but it didn't seem to have a lot of K through 12 on there, library. Some other school, I think one school project, and that seemed to be a interesting fact. That I noticed their pre-con manager, he's been doing pre-con for like 6 months. This is a PM. That, and I was interested in putting anyone in their estimated degree. With Shaman, I think they have a good team. They've done a lot of schoolwork. I just drop out of going to school all the time. That was a good job for them. I know they won the sale project. That's the big one. Yeah, and they're probably a company that done really well because I've worked with so many ex-Java people. Yeah, they'd be a good fit on the project. Gilbane, again, similar situation. They'd be a good fit as well. I'm surprised that they're complete. Like this to do anything self-perform. That is a good thing that about Consigli is they also have the self-perform. They're just as capable as Gilbane and Shaw. I think Gilbane, Consigli, and Shaw are pretty much equals in terms of actual capability and their teams. But yeah, that self-performed, if it's managed right, it actually helps with control of the actual field work in terms of influencing. Because I've seen it myself firsthand from working at the largest self-performing general contractor in the country. When things get tight and you need to do something, it's your own forces, so you can basically bend them to easier, if you will.
Interesting. And self-performing in my mind always the most advantageous thing to have, or at least have it available to you, to the contractor or the CMR, construction manager, because that's where they can pull in as many people they need to do it, are not dependent upon somebody else to, fulfill those needs. So you can blame a subcontractor for anything, it's your own personnel, and, be able to do that.
Yeah.
Does it require more, of the management personnel? Probably yes, but then again, that's part of the cost that you'll pay for it.
And on the actual private bid packages, not the wild sub bid packages. If you're a self-perform group and you really need the work or want the work, you'll get your number to make sure you get the work. So that's another possible benefit.
Also, if you look at the number of personnel that they are looking into, internal condition, Consigli has 6 full-time, Gilbane has 4, Shaman 3, and WTA 6, so.
Yep.
They're really, the internal condition portion, that's what making Shaman to be the lowest number is because they're putting in 3 full-time people, which is a good number for this side job.
Yeah.
5 or 6, I think is a little too much. You know, it's not that complicated a project to be, it is complicated, but not that complicated. That you need, 6 bodies full-time, on a project side. But to me, that's a lot. I've done much larger projects with much lesser bodies, so.
Yeah, that's the thing that happened with some of these.
Yeah.
I've seen it myself where it's like, why are there 20 people on this job when there needs to only be like 5?
And a project in March was really out there, normally be 5 people show up, but what is it, a day off today? That's why you're coming over here.
Okay, any other discussion, regarding the services or anything, or you wanted me to share with you some numbers now, or show you what you guys want to do?
That sounds good.
Okay. So, as you know, there's 3 categories for
Is
this.
it worth it to have you share into the meeting so that it's up on the screen, or do you want?
On the screen?
Yeah, do you want to call them Zoom to make it easier, or you rather just read it off?
I'll read it off. If they want it available, I can make it available. This is, so I have a consensus score sheet here in front of me from all the input from the committee members on the 3 categories. 3 categories being defined as the review of the technical proposal, which, the booklet, so to speak. And then there's the interview itself, and then there's the price sheet. So again, it's sort of a discussion here. Not that money drives everything, but so I'll go right through section 1, technical proposal. The summary score for Consigli, 58.7 out of 60 points, by the way. So out of 60 points, Consigli got 58.7. Gilbane, 59.14. Shawmut, 59.04. WT Rich, 58.16. Next category, interview out of 20 points. Consigli, 18.2. Gilbane, 19. Shawmut, 18.4. WT Rich, 16.8. So I have those 2 numbers summarized before we get to the numbers. So far, section 1, technical, section 2, interview. Here's the summary scores for Consigli. Out of 80, 76.9. Gilbane, 78.14. Shawmut, 77.44. WT Rich, 74.96. Any numbers need repeating? Okay, now you saw the pricing section. Before we get into that, just a couple of things. With respect to the pre-construction services fee, that's a fee, that's a fixed fee. That's not negotiable. With respect to the estimated general conditions, that is negotiable. And those estimated general conditions on the part of the firms that they submitted is based on the staffing arrangements that they propose to service the project, whether it be, project executives, project managers, cost estimators, sustainability staff, and you saw the array of people that they have on the different firms. So they calculate that based on the schedule that we gave them. And they based it on how many hours or how many weeks they're going to be engaged times a rate. So while that's a number, it's a number just to evaluate. It's not a number that they're locking into the project or we're locking into them. That's a negotiable figure. We can ask for more and we can ask for less. So with respect to the general conditions, again, that's a hard thing to look at. We can almost eliminate that figure if you want, because it's I don't know, I want to say this the wrong way. Is it measurable to get points for or against? Because it's discussed and negotiated based on what we need to do and what they want to do. And that's, again, negotiable. The pre-construction service fee is not negotiable. The next portion is which is the estimated CM fee as a cost based on their fee as a percentage in addition to the general conditions. Again, that's a floating number. It's, again, negotiable. I look at the two numbers that are something to measure in terms of cost would be the pre-construction service fee fixed. And then, of course, there's CM fee fixed. Those two numbers, they're submitting those, and we like them, we accept them, and we go forward. We do not negotiate those numbers. The other two numbers, I think, are floating numbers that are difficult to, I think, put on a measuring stick and say, oh, they gave us a $1.6 million fee for general conditions or $3.7 million for general conditions. Well, that can float around a little bit. So just as a conversation. So with regards to the pre-construction fee, my computer just died up. I'm not died, logged up. 1 second.
Do you have the 3011 handy?
I do somewhere. I could get.
I'm going to put you on the spot. I was just curious about how these numbers compare to what was in the estimate.
Sure. Let me see.
The budget, I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The pre-construction, for example, or all of them, right?
Oh, yeah.
Give me 1 second. I have to go to our folder here.
Let's see, the email that came this morning, when you asked me to have the 3011. The one that just today came this morning. So it'll be much easier to.
Do you have that on your? I don't know if I was copied on that.
Right now.
I have a PDF of it, right?
There's a PDF, I have a PDF.
There it is. That's dated, I have one dated November 20th. MSBA Project Scope and Budget Agreement, October 20th. Let me open that up. Here it comes. It's a PDF. It's not a complete breakdown, but I'll see what it says here. Okay, sure. In the project budget for pre-construction services that was submitted to the MSBA and approved at the town meeting, the line item for pre-construction services is $225,000. You want me to read off the numbers from the firms for their pre-construction fees? You have it in front of you, right? You have that. Okay. Okay, I'm wondering. We could do this. I can give you the total score with all the rankings, including the estimated general condition and estimated fee, or I could take those numbers out. I'm thinking to myself out loud, so I'm sorry if I'm getting crazy here on the ranking. I'm wondering if we should be ranking the estimated general conditions cost and the estimated CM fee and the estimated total cost for CM services when the general conditions are considered negotiable. I could take them out and put them right back in.
See both ways.
Let me do something. Let me do something here. And again, you can see it fully loaded, so to speak, and only fully loaded with the fee and that we cannot touch. Yeah. Give me 1 second.
In the meantime, you asked some pretty specific questions. Do you feel like they were answered to your liking, or were you satisfied with the answers?
With WBG Research. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm not comfortable with. Okay. Are we good for a minute if I delete or zero out the numbers with respect to general conditions? Okay, give me 1 second. And we're only gonna be locking in the CM pre-construction fee and their, excuse me, pre-construction, cost fee, I guess, and then the CM fee. Oops. Okay. So, let me go back to the previous score. So we have a total, as we said a minute ago, based on the technical and the interview, correct? Now I'm going to turn around and just confirm these formulas correct, which they should be. Okay, I'm ready. Okay, so based on that and based on the pre-construction fee, I know I'm repeating myself, but based on the pre-construction fee, in terms of the ranking, the lowest gets the most points. Based on the CM fee, the lowest gets the most points. So with that said, the total score at this point, excluding the estimated general conditions, so on, consecutive 80.9. Gilbane, 83.14. Schaumburg, 85.44. W.T. Rich, 78.96. Put the numbers back in. If you'd like. Or just leave it at that. Put it back in, we can see where it lands again. That way it's double confirmation if you want to do it, something along those lines.
Yeah, I can't. Pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, Rich won't catch him. And shop it was low.
Can I ask, I don't know the order of operations here, but are we all in agreement that we're not moving forward with WT Rich? Seems like that's the consideration.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay.
So we have the quantified numbers. Should we have a discussion about how the interviews went and how we felt about the project teams that we're going to be working with on a daily basis?
Absolutely.
More from you, the little one from you, so even more than any of all of us.
Okay. So Kinsley came in and they fantastic interview. And that was good, be really tough to beat. Gilbane came along, Shonda came along, and they're all three really good. The proposals were good, the interviews were good. I would be happy to work with any of them. But because I am fresh off a project with Gilbane with the exact same people, we know the rhythm of each other and we already have sort of rapport and a system of getting things done. So I think that would be a pretty big advantage in terms of learning curve.
Learning curve.
But to be honest, they're three excellent firms and I'd be happy to work with.
I thought Gilbane was gonna be out of people. Yeah, Sean, did a good job. Yeah, I believe too. I mean, between Gilbane and Sean, they both did a good job. And, you know, I didn't vote for Sean, I don't think I was too convinced, but maybe the people, I think, convinced me more to lean towards them. And maybe that's a new experience for you, if you end up selecting them, but I think I'll feel, yeah, comfortable with you three of them. All three of them will do great, even four of them will do a great job, but knowing like what you're not feeling too comfortable with WT Rich, I think all three firms will do a great job, no question about that. They will be dedicated and, you know, on a price point basis, Charlotte gets the advantage
assuming there's no negotiation for certain conditions.
No, or you can, general conditions still can negotiate, but they're, I mean, there's a big delta there, they're leaving on the, not too much, just, it's still $500,000 there at least, $1 million, so that's a big number there, that's almost 1/3 of the fee, so you're looking at that as an advantage to, look into it more towards the project than towards the fee.
I think I wanna agree with what Mary Lee said. I felt like Consigli was great, and then Gilbane kind of maybe edged them out a little bit, and then I didn't really know what to expect today. I was very impressed with Shamit. I think that I would also lean on kind of you're the one who's gonna be in the room working through, so if you're comfortable with Gilbane, I support that as well, so.
Peter, could you tell us what the 3011 says about the total PM services that was in the budget?
The total.
Oh, you got it here.
Okay, yeah, general condition 6.9 million. And then GMP contingency of GMVP 1.764.
As a percentage?
And I'm just looking at the number there, 1.764 out of the. Only 56, 58 million, so. Let's put this one.
Also with Gilbane's proposed schedules, that's up for negotiation as well, like that's not set in stone. So there may be opportunities to sort of land in a happy medium between the two.
Makes sense.
Yeah, them and Shamit have the biggest potential schedule savings. I told you, Shamit, 12 for Gilbane.
So they were under budget on everything.
Trying to check my numbers again, so without the general conditions. Can you confirm if I read this off? Consigli 80.9?
Yep.
Gilbane 83.14?
Yes.
And then 85.44?
Yes.
And then 78.96?
Yes.
Go back and do. And give you the rankings now. With the things that you want.
Yeah.
Would that help?
Please.
Okay, so fully loaded, including general conditions, cost with the rankings. Consigli 84.9. Gilbane 91.14. Shamit 97.44. WT Rich 85.96. With respect to the scoring, Shamit, as you can see on the numbers, got the highest points because of their fee and all their, again, those general conditions costs. Yeah, they're all ones.
Yeah.
Again, taking that with a grain of salt, like we just mentioned. Is it real? Negotiable, but the fee is not, and that's the lowest fee in the pre-construction services. Is the lowest. However, if you look at the Gilbane alternate, which is difficult because we shouldn't really, we can, but I shouldn't say we can't, but that's an alternate number there as well, based on the schedule. But apples to apples, putting that one aside on the alternate, those are the numbers I just laid out. So.
And they still have the insurance numbers, except for the pre-construction. They still have insurance number, even on the audit.
Oh, the alternate's lower. To the 150?
On pre-construction.
On the-
Okay, except for that.
Pre-construction.
Except for, yes.
Which is a small number, which is. That's a giveaway anyway.
Yeah, you get, they shove it, it's yours if you drop 58, 450 on your cheese leaves.
So we're looking at just CM services, which is, under 5 million of a $98 million project between, I guess, Gilbane and Shawmut now. Who do we think can bring in the lowest construction costs and lowest GMP?
And what team do we like the most? What team has the best chemistry? Where's the closest connection? And all the things the project is seeking to deliver. Where is, or who is the best firm? I'll just a little more numbers. Money's important, but people are important as well. And the services that they provided, the interview, the technical proposals, so that plays a heavy role also. So as Mary Lee mentioned, you know, experience with, they just came off a project. Our office has worked with all of them in the past, and they're all good firms. They can all deliver the project. So it's a great position for the town of Littleton to be in, to have these four firms at this point, to scratch your head and go, wow, what do I do? But it's a good position. So
You guys haven't stayed us wrong yet. I mean, you have experience with Gilbane. I could go with Gilbane and Shawmut either way. I will acquiesce to what the committee wants, but I like the value of the equity center. Like you said, not running curve, you know the expectations, you know the strengths, you know firsthand, so. That's mine. I was on
Say something.
Second,
So I don't know, some of you know me, I'm at Yolanta Davis, 33 Shaker Lane. So I'm the neighbor who will be probably the most affected. Let's see, Bill Bain talked a lot more about working with neighbors and Sean. Just, we should keep that in mind.
Sure. Good. Thank you.
They actually have concrete. So, consider right, they were talking about how they would communicate with neighbors, how often, their methods about, minimizing disruptions and so on. I didn't see as much of that structure.
Thank you. Does anyone else have thoughts before we vote?
I would say right now, I would lean towards Shawmut. But Gilbane is very qualified. I don't think that tastes like something.
And we want to, out of the four, rather than selecting one, we want to eliminate a four, a three, and get it down to two.
Sure, so I think if we're all in agreement, did we eliminate WT Rich?
Yep.
Yes.
Do we want to eliminate Consigli at this point? I think they're a lot closer, so I'm just raising you.
Yes.
Yes?
Yeah, their fee is.
Okay, so I think we're down to Gilbane and Shawmut.
Yeah.
I personally like Shawmut a little bit more. I think they're both great, but again, I think Mary Lee has the experience with Gilbane. I believe that way.
I'm good with both of them and share the experience with Gilbane and the same team. If it was just Gilbane, I would say, yeah, maybe not, but because the same team and they're promising same team to us, so I think that's a good, and their quick references always been, good about it. And getting ourselves performing in it, but that's the only part that's there.
Yeah.
What facilities are on hand, right? Like if there's any complications that arise from that, they're still beholden to.
Yeah, they can get people, so it's not. They've done it before, so it's not that we cannot do it.
And do you want to hold a vote on Gilbane?
It sounds like, if I'm not up here listening, it sounds like it's a photo finish, but Gilbane wins by a nose.
Yeah, we should take an official vote, though.
Take an official vote.
Yeah, because I will not vote for them because of what they did. It wasn't technically improper because they didn't contact me, but they contacted my superior, telling me to be fair.
Oh. That's understandable. Wait, about this?
Yes. Technically, it's not.
No, technically it's not, but, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, I know every one of them and, you know, when anytime there was a conversation was very general, nothing to do about, you know, giving them any information that publicly they cannot get. But which way, who's thinking what, no, they never asked that question, they said we will not ask the question. And, you know, and due respect, I'm not gonna give them anything, you know, it was always very respectful, whether it was the people who backed out like Bond and, you know.
Yeah.
So it's always respectful because they all understand what the committee process is, so. For somebody.
That's what it was funny, it wasn't even someone on the team. So.
What do you think? All four of the firms, reached out to you the year before we had to shut down communications. And I know that they've all been following the project for years.
Yeah.
All four of them did, I don't think it was, I mean, in your case, we moved.
Just after the.
Really,
started.
Interesting.
Before that, people call it and ask questions or whatever, it's like, I think Jim, Commodore had reached out with Jim long time ago, I was like, more than welcome to come and attend the building committee meeting, then listen in, they, you know, if they have questions, we can answer them, you know, in a public forum, but there's no private information being given to any of them, so.
It's just irked me because they were the only one who did it. And even the companies that I had worked at didn't do it.
But I think, as we said, it's razor close,
Right.
but Gilbane seems to have the edge at this point, and I think it comes up to a vote, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Make a motion.
Motion.
Please don't to, select, Gilbane as, CM.
Second.
Second.
All right. Roll call. Jim,
Yes.
Sean, yes.
Mary Lee, yeah.
Yes.
I might speed it up, I know.
Motion carries. You've selected Gilbane.
Very good.
Is there any other business for the committee?
What do we need to do in order to present this to that?
I will put together a summary, and I'll get it to the committee here, fingers crossed by noon, so you can read it and give me any edits, and then I'll have it sent to the full committee prior to the meeting, and I'll have it on the screen for tomorrow night's meeting.
Great.
Giving how we got here and so on. It'll be quick executive bullet points, nothing expensive, but at the end, I'll be writing a full report.
And at what time are they notified? Because this is not live.
I'm gonna wait till the meeting ends tomorrow night, and the committee votes a full approval of the recommendation, pre-qualification committee. And if the vote goes through as tonight's vote did, then I will tomorrow, Thursday morning, I will notify all the firms. Both by phone and in writing. Good. Okay. And if there's any request for public information, Freedom of Information Act, I am the keeper of records, so to speak, and I will be turning this information over, but I can distribute to the town clerk's office any public records requests that may come through.
Sure. Great. Okay.
Wow, what a process. We've been here for 2 months, all of us, going through this process. Thank you for your time. We probably had, between last night, I bet we've had 8, maybe 10 meetings easily to get to this point. So a lot of time there in and of itself, never mind your own personal time at home, reading the proposals and then coming here this evening and things like that. So it's an important step. It's an important project team member. So now I think the team is fully assembled with respect to certainly the owner's team, the designers team, the OPM's team, now we have a construction management team. So we're all together now, and we'll start to get underway, and we'll also start to compare the contract packages as well. So probably around the January building committee meeting, we should have, if we can get everything in order, contract signed. And that could be essentially kind of a notice to proceed, if you will. to enter into the pre-construction services. But I'll give a notice of award this coming Thursday.
Great.
And then we'll start together our paperwork.
You did a great job.
Yes.
You did a great job.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a lot of things, but I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. Day to have the click to the CMR and Jim getting the project scope and budget agreement signed to the years. Oh, that's a good sign. When I saw that this morning, I said, oh, that's a good sign.
Yeah, and the next step on that would be the project funding agreement.
Right.
The PFA, which will really allow things to materialize and reimbursement costs that we submitted. So
Is there anything else?
I'm all set. Mr. Chairman.
Can I share a motion? Moved. Second. All those in favor? Aye. We're adjourned.